Hi BookTube, welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. I am Jackie and it's time for a 7 on Sunday. It is May, so a new set of topics is in store for us in the 7 on Sunday group. So this first topic for this first Sunday of the month is your 7 shortest books on your TBR, which this looks like it's more than 7, but one of them is a series of books. Although I did realize there are a few more I could have mentioned. So let me put this down. But these are the ones I've chosen to talk about. Okay, first is a play. One of the Shakespeare plays that I got a separate copy for. This is the updated Folger Shakespeare Library edition of The Merchant of Venice, which I've never heard of. I've heard of it, but I don't know a lot about this. And there's always, you always hear about Julius Caesar or Romeo and Juliet, or Hamlet, or the one that the Scottish play, which we can't say the title because it's bad luck. Although I don't know, maybe I could say it because I'm not in a theater, but I'm just gonna call it the Scottish play. You even hear about, I don't know. I think that's all of the ones you hear a lot about. And this one I don't hear as much about, or if I do mention, it gets mentioned, it's not a favorite. I did read King Lear, which I absolutely loved. That's what I want to do. I want to read some of the ones that aren't as much talked about as, like, the most famous ones, like Hamlet, or the Scottish play, or Romeo and Juliet. And I've read those, except for the Scottish play. I have not read that one. I do want to reread Hamlet. But yeah, I figured and I feel like this would be a great summer or spring read, because I don't know, when I think of Venice, I think of, summertime, because Venice is basically an island. It's on the water. It's a city built on the water. So, which actually, now I think about it, maybe I should pick it up now. But, yeah, so it's a play, so it's short, compared to some of those 500 plus page novels. But I did realize there were a lot more that I could have chosen from. Like, I have a lot more short story collections I could choose from as well. So this is The Merchant of Venice. And like I said, I don't know a lot about it, so I can't really tell you what it's about. Okay, so next is a classic, which I bought last year, and again, another one of those ones that I felt motivated to pick up, but I didn't continue. I haven't picked it up since. Is Lady Audley's Secret, and I believe this is one where this his cousin or friend, our narrator's cousin or friend, marries this woman, Lady Audley. She's very mysterious. It has all these, as the title suggests, has all these secrets. And then he realized that his friend either, like I said, I don't know if it's his cousin or his friend, disappears not too long after. And I think he suspects that she's involved in his disappearance. And I don't remember if he just... Oh, Lucy Graham is her name. Oh, his nephew. That's right. Okay, so our narrator is the guy's the nephew. And it kind of makes me think a little bit about that Daphne du Maurier, My Cousin Rachel, with its premise. That's what it makes me think of, which I want to reread that one. I need to buy another copy of them, because I actually decided to donate it, but now I kind of wish I had another copy of it so I could reread it and give that one another shot. But anyway, we're talking about Lady Audley's Secret. So I did start this one a while back, but I haven't read enough to really talk about it. So that's by Mizzy Mary. I was about to combine Mary and Elizabeth. Mary Elizabeth Braddon is the author of this one. Okay, and then Next is the series. And that is the Wizard of Oz series by Frank L. Baum. I need to get back to this. I'm hesitant because the first 5 novels are in this bind up and it's a hardback book. It's not easy to travel with, but I do want to get back to reading it. And these are the rest of the novel. I don't know if it's all of them, but my sister a couple years ago bought me these for a birthday gift. She thought it would be a cool, unique, different gift for me. I mean, it was on my Amazon wish list, but you know. So this is the first 5 novels. Of course, the one everyone knows is The Wizard of Oz. But we also have, let me see, where's the table of contents? The Wonderful Wizard of Oz is the one everybody knows. And then The Marvelous Land of Oz, Ozma of Oz, Dorothy and the Wizard in Oz, Dorothy and the Wizard in Oz, and The Road to Oz. There's that. And it is a little different, I think, from the movie and play, movie/musical. Those are the ones in this one. And then I also have the Tin Woodman of Oz, which I really like these designs. Very vintage looking. Glinda of Oz. And then we have The Lost Princess of Oz. And I think there's a few more. I mean, I would love to get all of them in this edition. But I also feel bad because I have this one too. But yeah, there's this series. So these are kids' books. So they're definitely not that long. Yeah, so I need that series. So yes, it's the whole series, but each individual book is very short compared to some of the long novels that I have. Okay, so, and then we have another book that started out as a kid's book originally, but now adults like it, and that is The Hobbit. And this is around the time that the first movie came out. And I will say it again, I loved all those movies. You know, I know not a lot of people did. I mean, this is a kid's book, so you do not need to make this as long as it did. But I enjoyed them. And I wasn't smart enough to apparently notice the bad CGI or how it was oversaturated with CGI. But I read this. This was the only Lord of the Rings book that I read all the way through. Because it was around the time I first heard about the movie, so I was like, oh, you know what, let me go read this. Especially because I knew at that point I didn't know it was originally for kids. So I figured it wouldn't be as dense to read as the rest of the trilogy, which I do have. The big volume of one of the anniversary editions of the 3 parts, in one big book. But I want to reread this. So it is on my TBR, even though I've already read it. I do want to reread it. So I'm planning to reread it soon. But this, in case you've been living under a rock and don't know what The Hobbit is about, it's the first book Tolkien ever published, I believe. And it's about this little hobbit, these little guys who, they live in holes in the ground, and he's very content. He loves his books. He loves his little hearth and everything. But then this wizard, Gandalf, comes along and suggests that he come with him and this group of dwarves who are trying to reclaim their old homeland in the mountains because they lost it to a dragon. And they are led by the king of the dwarves of this mountain, the dwarves of Erebor. King Thorin Oakenshield, and they need a burglar, someone who could sneak in and around places and easily get into tiny spaces and everything and be quiet. So Gandalf suggests Bilbo come along. So they go on an adventure across Middle Earth, traveling all the way to the mountains. They have to get help from the elves, even though they don't like each other. The elves and the dwarves don't like each other. and slowly they win each other over because the dwarves don't really like Thor. Does not really like Bilbo, and Bill doesn't like him, and he just wants to go back home the whole time. And it's just a fun little adventure, and I really want to read this to my nephews one day. Now the problem is they're still at that stage of where they really need illustrations to keep them entertained. Although they're reading Harry Potter, and they're not, Harry Potter each book only has like the one image on the top. So I mean, I do want to get them the special editions of the big illustrated versions, but those cost a lot of money. I did hint to my mom a couple times, so maybe she'll surprise me one day and get them for me at least. But or maybe my sister will get them. But anyway, this is about okay, so that's an excerpt from 276 pages. So this is just close to 200. I'm excited to read this because I haven't read this in a long time. I read this right before the first movie, The Unexpected Journey, came out. So it's been a while since I read this. So I'm excited to read it again. So it is on my TBR. And then we have... So... The Last Kingdom by Bernard Cornwell. So, this is, I've heard a lot about Bernard Cornwell and how he's a great author. He writes great battle scenes, and the Rostovs had a lot of his books, which kind of surprised me because that was the first time I ever saw more than one or two of his books there. And I wanted to own them instead of just getting them from the library. And plus the library, there's no guarantee it's going to have all the books in a series anyway. I've read a couple. I did attempt The Fort. I would like to give that one another shot. But there was that one, and then I've read another Bernard Cornwell book as well. So and that one I actually finished, I think. Enough to obviously that I wanted to continue the book, but I couldn't find the next book, and the next book was not at my library. So this is kind of this kind of takes place around the time when England was, being formed, the way it formed to what it is today, I believe. Our main character, I need to hear how his name is pronounced. He was born a Saxon, but raised a Viking. I'll have to look it up. Yeah, England is born. And George R. R. Martin blurbed it, and so did Lee Child, who writes mysteries, contemporary mysteries that are kind of like the Da Vinci Code type stories. And actually, I remember when I first got this. This was around the time that the HarperCollins, those people were, protesting. So I was like, so it was really hard because it was like, oh, so I guess I need to wait before I read this because, people don't want us to support HarperCollins until they give rights to their employees, give them fair wages. The good news is that it is done. The protest ended. Hopefully, they are getting what they want. That they have been given their fair wages, and that's why it stopped. I haven't heard anything about it, so I'm hoping that's what that means. But yeah, this was a HarperCollins imprint. I was worried, people might, should I not talk about this book on here? But anyway, So, and actually, my dad watched the movie that was based on the last two novels. I think it was the last two or three novels. He watched the movie And then, because I could tell right away, because this is a movie tiny edition, so I saw this guy on the screen. It was like, oh, okay, that's The Last Kingdom. And my dad was like, oh, no, it's not that. It's called this. But I'm pretty sure it was that. Like, I would probably have to explain to him. It's like, yeah, the last two books were made into a movie. And I did, last time I talked about this, I said Alan from the library, Alexandria, read this, but I think he said in another videos of his that I watched that he didn't actually read this one, but he's read other Bernard Cornwell books, and loved them. So I don't think he read this series yet. I think that's what he said. But yeah, this is another one. There are probably shorter books I could have picked, but I just grabbed this one, so as another one. And then we have, okay, so next is a novella from a collection, one of Stephen King's bind-ups. So I originally had a mass market, but again, I, replaced it with this one, a regular size paperback, because I prefer that. And I really like the cover design of these particular editions. Like, each one is a different color. I love colorful covers, and where each cover, it's kind of a rainbow effect. Like, I know that there was an edition of Stephen King's works that are, now you can't find them anymore, where each book, it was neon colors, I think. And, I really liked those. And there was a booktuber that I don't remember that I used to watch a lot, but she has not posted anything lately. She had those editions of Stephen King. She was a big Stephen King reader. But I really love these. This is how each one is a different color, and I like the typography of his name. And although when I showed this book to you, this book, I think I mentioned that I feel like this, reminds me of in the Dark Half. There's a reference to a certain kind of bird in that one, in the Dark Half, and this reminded me of that. This image of the bird shaped like a clock made me think of that. But anyway, so this one has 4, because it says 4 past midnight. And I have been meaning to read the second novella in this collection, which is Secret Window, Secret Garden, and but the fact that I had to watch the movie adaptation with starring Johnny Depp, and I was like, oh, I don't need to read it. Like, I wasn't as motivated to read it, but I have since heard that there are differences, which, of course, adaptations are going to be very different from the original, story, the original rundown story, but sometimes I feel like the plots can be, if they're simple plots, sometimes, it's still, even though there might be some differences, it still feels like you could just watch the movie adaptation. So it was just, I wasn't as motivated to read it, but now I want to read it sooner rather than later, before I get inspired, before I feel like, oh, I want to watch the, 4 past midnight, I want to watch Secret Window, because they get at the Secret Garden part. They only have it called Secret Window. But so I want to start, so that one, I'm going to pick that one. That is about, let's see, let me look at the table of contents. Let me see if there's a list of when each story starts. Which I think okay, so this organization is so much better because they have all of the Dark Tower series in a separate little section. They have these little sections in each of his works that list all of his works, because he's written so much. And I think I like how they have the Dark Tower all separate, and the same thing with the books written as Richard Bachman. Let me see. Okay, so so Secret Window, Secret Garden starts on page 297 and ends on page 481. So I would have to calculate the math for that one, but But yeah, so I'm gonna read that one. So that's my other one. And then the last shorter work that I have on my TBR is I just grabbed the Prose Edda by Snorri Sturluson? This is the Everyman edition. So the paperback of the Everyman library. So this is because this is basically short stories in kind of a poem format, like epic poetry. So I decided to put it in there, and it's not. Which I should do a video where I list all the epic poetry that I have, that I've collected over the years. I should do that. Film a video about that. But this is all the Norse mythology. This is some of the Norse mythology stories. Okay, so so to me this feels like, because it's kind of like, they're kind of short stories in poetry format. I think they're in poetry format. Actually, no, they're, some of them, okay, so some of it is written like, looks a little bit like regular prose. But some of it also looks like plays and poetry format. And then this is not the only. I have another one of those ones that you can buy at Books A Million that's really fancy and is hardback. I also have that as well. And we do have in June, it's Ancient-a-thon, which I started 3 years ago. So I thought, I could actually participate in that, because I do have some other, quite a collection of ancient literature now. So I could do that this year. But again, it's that situation where I'm showing you these books on here, and then I'm thinking, I want to pick that one up now, and I want to pick that one up now. But anyway, so that is the shortest books on my TBR. There are probably shorter books than I could share The Awakening. I have that one as well. And there's other short stories that I have that aren't just Stephen King. Like I have Edgar Allan Poe's work as well. I could share that in this, include that. But I think I should do I should do videos where I list all the short stories that I have, the collections of short stories that I have, or novella collections. I could share all those, because I don't just have Stephen King collections. I also have other authors as well, and then I should also, in the beginning of June, I think I could do a video where I show all the ancient literature that I've collected over the years as well. I bought over the years too. Anyway, so what is, if you want to participate, even if you don't want to participate in the 7onSunday topic, you can still share with me your shorter books that you have that you want to read that are on your TBR. But I will post the link to the Goodreads group, so if you are interested in doing this. And if you like this video, be sure to give a thumbs up, click subscribe if you haven't already, click the bell notification below if you want to be notified about my latest videos. And I hope you are enjoying your reading, and I will talk to you all later. Alright, bye!